Happy International Day, everybody, and welcome to the Techno Day conference. I am Rituja Rao, and thank you so much for joining me for my talk today. So it's International Women's Day, and the theme this year is Choose to Challenge, and that's what I've sort of decided to base my talk on today. So I choose to challenge what it requires to work in the tech industry. I choose to challenge the notion that you require a computer science degree to do a role in technology. Technology is not just about coding, it goes way beyond coding, but I completely understand that sometimes that's not what's highlighted across the industry. Growing up, I'm sure we all had classes such as, IT and computer studies, etc. And a lot of times that wasn't attractive. It was always shown to us that computers are all about coding and you need to learn languages like everything on the board was all about engineering and having to do a degree to get into that line of work. And most importantly, sometimes tech careers weren't even attractive. You kind of almost don't know what goes behind closed doors. So essentially, I challenge you to think about this for a minute. Like, what do you think about a tech company? What do they do? Do they just sit behind a screen and just keep building these products? And we almost sometimes believe that it's all completely code powered, if anything. And I am a young person in technology, and I come from a non-tech background. So to tell you a little bit about myself, I was 18 when I moved to the UK, and I studied journalism, which was and is still my passion. I love media. And as I was studying journalism, I was getting deeper and deeper into it, but I was starting to feel a bit frustrated by how much my degree was being affected by technology. I was constantly asked to code websites, come up with business ideas that revolutionized media in the sense, and the answer to everything was technology. And I think the minute and the moment that I realized that technology is my career, and that's the route into achieving all my dreams, was when I was doing my what I would call my dream job. I was at the BBC, and I was working on Storywell, which is a program on BBC One, and I thought it's everything I ever wanted. While I was doing that, again, I was starting to be very, very frustrated by how much the IT team or the technology business on like what looks and works on the internet, what looks good online, was starting to kind of control the decisions that editorial was making. So myself, some journalists, etc., we were constantly being governed by decisions that were made in the IT team. And that's when I realized that probably the world is changing. I mean, we all know this now. It's changing in the sense of everything around you is becoming technology, one or different form of technology, but it's all touched and completely like entwined with like tech. So I thought that as much as I love journalism, and my dream is to start my own media tech firm someday now, I realized that I couldn't do that without, going to the other side of the other side of the fence and kind of really experiencing technology and how to build effective tech businesses. And that's what I started to do. I kind of started looking for roles in technology, etc. And that's when I realized that it's really difficult. Everybody was asking for minimum requirements to being, 2 to 3, 4 years of coding experience or like having a computer science degree, etc. But I feel like against all odds, I managed to find myself a role in an organization where I could learn technology, like be trained a little bit, and then actually undertake a role that for me it wasn't too technical. I didn't want to be coding. I wanted to be on the business side of technology, and to be honest, I didn't know that those roles exist. So I became a project manager and an IT consultant, which means that in my role I work with a variety of clients in a variety of industries, and I help them envision technology products or tech-based products, and I help them with the delivery of it, bring that from point A to point B, which is like, open to the market. So having given you this background, in my talk today, we are going to be talking about what it takes to kind of get into technology, and how whatever skills you already have are enough. You don't need a computer science degree. I went from journalism to becoming an award-winning IT consultant, and I want to share some tricks and secrets of the tech industry that are not always out there for you. So in my talk today, I'm going to talk about career change. What does career change mean? Should we be scared of career change? And then we're going to talk a little bit about the tech skills. What are tech skills? And we're going to talk more about the roles in technology, because not every role needs to be coding based. So it kind of goes way beyond codes. We're going to talk about roles in technology. And then finally, we're going to talk about routes into technology. And these are practical advices and practical opportunities that you can use to find your first role in technology. So let's get started then. So the first thing was to kind of discuss about career change. Career change has often been touted as a anomaly. Just putting the word change in there sort of means that it almost sounds like somebody has been doing something and they decided to change careers, which is kind of like, oh, you don't do that. You're changing your course in life and you have to make a big decision to go do something else. And it kind of signifies a certain permanency in there, like careers are permanent, or it's like a straight route. It's like a linear equation almost to kind of get where you want to be, or just that's how life is. Once you choose something, you're permanently locked in there. That's what career change. These are the feelings that word sometimes evokes. But the truth is, in 2021, careers are not linear anymore. I mean, just look around yourself. The world is changing every minute. So how can careers be linear? It's just not the reality of our world. So essentially, we need to kind of normalize changing careers. In fact, normalize changing your careers a bunch of times, because the truth is sometimes you do something for so much time and then realize that that's either not for you, or that honestly you have more skills and you want to explore more things. So hence I kind of tend to describe career change as a conscious decision that you keep making as and when you learn more about yourself and the world around you. So career change, and why do people have a career change? In my case, from my own experience, I can sort of say that I'm very proud of the degree I studied in university. I'm very proud of who I was in school, which meant that I kind of went down the route of journalism and media. And, that remains my personality. That's what I enjoy doing. And, that's what I'm really good at as well. So I feel like the reason I made that change was I realized what the market needs in the moment. And most importantly, the fact that I have that in me to kind of fill that gap. So that was my reason for career change. Other people might have different reasons, reasons such as a change in your personal circumstances that attracts you to a different career. Sometimes you're looking for more flexibility, and hence you go towards a role that offers more flexibility. And third, sometimes you just realize that that's not what you want, and that's completely okay. Career change can always be seen as, oh, I need to go out there, I need to get more skills, or I need to get a new degree, and I need to do more before I can make that change. And the truth is, no, not necessarily. It's actually quite normal in the industry to make changes. And what you really need to make that change successfully is the will to learn more. That's all it really is. I think if you are looking to change your career and you're going to interviews and you're applying for roles, what they really want to see is, why do you want to make that career change, and how do you plan on doing that? So to just bring it down to how to make a career change, these are my top tips. Top tip number one: really think about, are you willing to put that effort into making that career change? And this is just to do with, do you have the patience and the will to kind of explore new things, learn new things, almost put in a bit more time than you already do to actually making that career change. Tip number two would probably be researching. And when I say researching, kind of actually talking to people and understanding from them the pros and cons of this new career that you're going into. It will give you a real person's insight into this big change that you're about to make. And finally, my last tip would probably be that even after you've made that career change, don't think of that as permanent either, because you might then realize that that's not for you and you make a new change. So I guess my top three tips all kind of point towards the fact that treat this as something that's very normal and that it's going to happen to you again and again. I personally keep my mind completely open to the fact that I'm going to change a bunch of a bunch of more routes to get where I want to be eventually. I currently, I've been an IT consultant and I work with a variety of clients, but specializing in financial services. And actually, the next step that I'm looking to make is to work in cloud. I've gone from, I really enjoy project management. I really enjoy working in tech. I enjoy working sort of like, in kind of like financial services. But now what I want to do is I want to build a further niche and I want to get into cloud and delivering cloud-based projects. So I think, you too, in your quest to make a career change, can keep building that. You can constantly keep reinventing yourself. And I think the right people around you will recognize that that's a strength and not an anomaly. Having kind of discussed a bit more about career change, let's talk about technology and what does it mean to, make that career tech into technology. To kind of start talking about that, I think we need to first sort of talk a little bit about tech skills. What are tech skills? Wherever you look around you, I think people will describe tech skills as learn to code in Python or learn to kind of, learn this brand new language that everybody is using or come through like a coding boot camp. And unless you kind of learn to code and you have this certification and this qualification, you can't start in the tech industry. Well, I'll tell you the first thing, that's not true at all, right? Tech skills go way, way beyond just code. And the reason I say that is genuinely think about this, right? Look around yourself, look around, your room and see the amount of gadgets or appliances that are around you. Like, I'm in the kitchen, so I look around me and I think, a smart TV, a smart fridge, smart absolutely anything, right? There is coding involved, obviously, that's how computers talk, right? So there's, of course, there's that element of it, but there's more to it, right? How did this fridge from I'm talking about smart fridges as my example, but how did the smart fridge go from lines and lines of code on your screen to being what it is, right? Like, think about it from the beginning. Somebody had to design this fridge, right? Somebody had to know how a fridge works. Somebody had to know how cooling works. Somebody had to know how just like preserving food, how does that work? And somebody had to design that. So there's that massive design element to it before you code it, right? And then take a further step back and kind of think, how did we even get to that stage of like designing that fridge, right? You needed somebody who was learning what this fridge needs to do. So what we call in technology requirements, right? Essentially, there was a problem. There was a problem that there's a fridge and, it needs to be smarter. It needs to do X, Y, Z number of things. But who defines that? Who defines what that product needs to do before they start finding solutions to that problem? So essentially, building that problem statement and building what, that fridge eventually will have to do, that's what we call business analysis. So, there had to be somebody with that skill set on this team. And then finally, like, how did all these people do their jobs and, get the fridge where it needs to be? There was an element of delivery in there, right? Managing that entire project, like how much money they were spending on it, like, were they delivering on time? Were they doing the right thing? Were we talking to our customers as to what this fridge needs to do? So there was a big delivery and a management element to all these little pieces of the puzzle that had to be put together. And in short, that's really what technology is. It's kind of like you need a bunch of different skills to solve a problem. And in my opinion, every skill that's around you is more or less a skill that's starting to be required in technology. And sure, probably that wasn't the case 20, 30 years before where we are right now, because it was all about getting the computers to do all this amazing stuff. But now, what's happening with technology now is that we have completely explored, the benefits of computing, the benefits of, making things smart. And now we're starting to think, how can we then apply this logic of smarter thinking, smarter computing everywhere around us? So what that essentially means is every industry is becoming a tech industry. I mean, imagine right from like cars, automatic cars, or cars that drive themselves, driverless cars, your smart TVs, your smart fridges. I kind of tend to talk a lot about appliances. And that's really because it gives you a true glimpse of how technology is touching your life, or how technology is changing every other industry. And it's very kind of, when you think about technology, you kind of think about, I mean, if I were to ask you to give me names of what you think are technology companies, you'll probably say Apple and Facebook and Google. I'm sure they are the tech giants, and they essentially power, literally, like I genuinely mean like power the rest of the solutions that are around you. But there are all these other companies who build a certain product, but that product is then powered by computing and technology. So, think Tesla, right? It is, I mean, would we call Tesla an kind of automotive company, or would we call it a tech company? I mean, if you ask me, it's a tech company. It's a tech company that powers cars, which happen to be automotives, right? So Tesla, to me, is completely a tech company. And, we all say Amazon is a tech giant, it's a tech company, but Amazon started off being nothing more than a bookstore that was powered by technology. So all of this kind of, go to show us that sure, code is a very central tech skill, but there are lots of other tech skills that are coming into play now, and every other skill in the world is also being utilized as a tech skill. So kind of let's break that down a little bit. Like, when I gave you that example of a fridge, it was a team effort to begin with, and there was a massive element of technology involved, but there were also some other factors to it. So the other factors kind of being, let's think about it, right? When a team decides to design this fridge, they need to understand a few basic things about how does a fridge cool the things that are inside it. So what I mean to say by that is, if you just had a bunch of coders and developers doing that, then they probably wouldn't know how to freeze a chicken, or they wouldn't know how to probably, at what temperatures do vegetables stay fine, and is there a difference between, how freezing and defrosting needs to work, etc. I mean, fridges can do absolutely anything in today's day and age. But to make that piece of technology, you needed like more skills on that team. And when I say skills, I mean to say, think about a food scientist, at some point they might have to consult a food scientist to kind of ask him or her about how, how food works literally, and how they can then involve that into their product and make sure that their product is fit for purpose. And imagine having a mom on that team. I mean, it really is probably a mom who understands how many times, her children interact with the fridge, and she'll probably be able to advise us that it needs to be at the certain height, or that it needs to be energy efficient, or the fact that, how she probably uses a fridge. And you probably need, you probably need other people, you probably need designers on your team, because, and when I say designers, I genuinely mean like user experience and also just like product design, and they will help you kind of bring your tech ideas or your tech solutions to life by designing the right thing that a user, a customer, can then interact with. So simply, like in this example, I've shown you a bunch of examples of people and roles that don't necessarily code, but they are just as important to be on that tech skill, that tech team. So giving you that example shows that, do you probably already have the skills to fill any of these roles or more, depending on every product out there, with your existing skills. You don't even need to go out there to get a new degree or a new qualification. You actually already have skills that you can apply in different businesses. And the reason I say businesses is because you could probably be a food scientist and you decide to work in technology, and to do that you kind of decide to consult a tech company on some of their products while playing your role as a food scientist. Maybe you can't do that with a company that designs cars, for example, but there is that sort of a niche that you need to find for yourself that works with your existing skills. So that's a wonderful way of kind of summarizing what I think tech skills really mean, right? And to give you kind of like a breakdown of what I define as tech skills, I think I break down skills that are required in technology into 5 categories. So category number 1 is analysis. Analysis really just means that there must be certain roles, and there are certain roles of people who are very good at talking to other people, meeting other people, and eliciting needs and requirements. So they're very good at asking the kind of questions which help you understand what the problem really is. Traditionally, technology roles that kind of fit this category are of like a business analyst. These people are just people who are great at kind of what we call eliciting responses and requirements, and they help you build that analysis to understand what your product or your project then needs to do. So they're often the first step of any business or tech process to begin, I would almost say. They kind of go, you know what, I understand that there's a problem. They hear their customers, they hear their stakeholders, and they say, okay, so there is a problem, but we need to verify what that problem really is, and we need to verify what are we looking for in the solution. Not necessarily what the solution is, but just asking what is required in that solution. And then when they get all that data and they kind of like work on it, and then they kind of build what we call, like, in research terms, hypothesis, in which translates to in technology as requirements. And so analytical skills are not, they're not exclusive to technologists. They happen everywhere, right? You can be a teacher and you're really analytical. You can be a researcher. You can be a psychology major. You can be an economist, and you're good at analysis. So you could have done a degree in economics. You could have done a degree in sort of education. You could have done a degree in sort of, like, you might have a PhD. And all of these traditional degrees and roles have that core skill of analyzing things, like being very critical in your thinking and having that problem solving sense in you, which you can then kind of combine and kind of marriage them up with business analysis skills, and you can become a business analyst. So analysis was category number one. Category number two is delivery. So delivery is essentially, managing all these different aspects to a tech project and bringing it all together and making it travel from point A to point B, like spending the right amount of money, delivering the right thing, delivering it in the right timelines. That is delivery as a tech skill. And traditional roles in sort of delivery and in technology are project managers, program managers, product managers. They kind of provide that umbrella of management on top of all the other tech processes, making sure that everybody is communicating effectively in a team, that you're communicating with your stakeholders, your customers, and just making sure that everything stays on track for delivery, so that the product is out to the market, as needed, really. So that's your category number two. Category three is what I call design. And what I mean by design is we all have like ideas, right? And it's all about kind of execution, but also about when it transforms into something tangible, something you can interact with. And that's design. So once you have your business analysts, once you have your project managers, and they have pulled that entire project together, you need somebody to visualize that and put it into a tangible piece of work that can then be coded and developed and all sorts of things. So there's that design element, and some traditional roles in that category would be architects, who are more technical. They are designing the technical solution. So you have architects and architecture. Then you probably have UX, so user experience, which is a massive thing in technology at the moment, where you're kind of, it's kind of designing everything that you as a user and a customer interact with. Because, neither of us, some of us don't look at screens and read code, do we? We need buttons and we need proper workflows to get us through a certain process. So that's really user experience. Then you have graphic designers, content designers, think about any traditional design role as well that exists in technology, and you need these people to contribute to your technology products and projects. Moving on to category number four, which is I guess the tech skill that is advertised the most, which is essentially, I call it build. And the reason I say build is because somebody really needs to physically build this product after you've analyzed it and you've designed it. And in build, that's when, you kind of start coding it. You actually start putting lines and lines of code, which the computer understands, and then, delivers that product for you to then interact with. So build is essentially coding or development. I also sort of say that testing is kind of a part of build, where you have quality assurance teams who make sure that your product does what it's supposed to. And then I guess you have teams such as deployment and infrastructure around maintaining that product and maintaining that piece of code, essentially. Traditional roles are developers, deployment people, test, infrastructure, platform engineers, DevOps engineers, etc. That's all to do with code, and that's a technical. That's a more of a technical skill, for which probably you need some sort of training, qualifications, actual hours of learning. But again, anybody can do that. I feel like think about any role that you have to do, and then you kind of spend some time to learn it. The same way you could, again, be, I'm trying to think, you could be a teacher, you could be, absolutely anybody, you can be in retail, etc. And then to become somebody who has these technical build skills, you kind of need to go away and learn, this skill. And then you can probably build on your existing skills to contribute to this side of technology. And then, like I said, the four main aspects of tech skills for me were analysis, delivery, design, and build. And then I finally put what I think is the fifth umbrella of tech skills, and I call them general services, more or less, because they are sales, marketing, finance, general business administration and management. And a technology firm, a tech business requires all of these, but they also need to be specialized skills, tech recruitment as well. You need these salespeople with these sales skills to think about technology from a technology perspective. And helps, I think, tech sales are also a technology role. The same with marketing. You really need to understand how tech users interact with tech, and hence you kind of become a technologist yourself. And then you kind of break that down, and there's like this massive surge of data around you right now, and somebody is capturing this data, somebody's analyzing that data, and then you get your traditional roles of data scientists and sort of like data analysts, etc. And that's becoming a massive role of tech. And think about other traditional roles that do this very well, right? You have people who probably study economics, and you have people who probably look at like a lot of data under research. And I'm trying to think of like other roles. So you can be probably a business major who kind of deals a lot with data in terms of like market research and user profiles, etc. And all of those can really work well as a tech skill when it comes to data management and data analysis. So yeah, just summarizing that section of my talk when it comes to tech skills, I think I've spoken enough to kind of show you the length and breadth of just how tech skills go way beyond code, right? And when I break tech skills down, I categorize them as, like I said, analysis, delivery, design, build, and that's coding, actually putting things into code. And then what I call general services, which are sales, marketing, finance, admin, management, and increasingly, when I say data, I still kind of mean that, they can be a general service because every company produces data right now. And they can also be a very coding specific role where you kind of manipulate the data in a way that it starts making sense to you. Perfect, So kind of moving on to our next segment, which is roles in technology. I think it lends me quite well, everything we've discussed in technology skills directly translates to a role in a tech company. And each of these roles contribute to the end product by doing each of their roles perfectly and kind of contributing to the impact that technology then has. So taking a short break there, I kind of like to start talking about roles in tech by discussing a very popular term, say techie. A lot of people who work in technology kind of describe themselves as techies. You could open LinkedIn and Twitter, and everybody's bio says, I'm a techie who enjoys to do this or that. And almost 99% of the time, these are people who kind of code, who describe themselves as techies, and the world, essentially, the society around us describes them as techie, because that's the term that the industries pick to kind of signify people who have technical skills. But I challenge that. I challenge, who is a techie? What is a techie? To me, a techie is anybody who works in technology. A techie is anybody who contributes to a technical solution, a product. And by that definition, everybody on a tech team is a techie. So like, I'm a project manager and I kind of work on lots of technical projects, but I don't code. Even though I don't code, I actually really need to understand technology. I need to understand technology to the level of I need to be able to speak that language. and kind of communicate with developers and testers and architects who really are very deep into technology. And hence, I think that automatically makes me a techie as well. Because if I didn't play my role on a tech team, that piece of code would just never see the light of the day. And hence, we kind of need to think about all roles in technology as techies. So now that you kind of, like realize what a techie is or should be, let's kind of talk a little bit about roles in technology. I think in my tech skills segment, I spoke a lot about, certain roles that probably don't make sense to you right now, but to really break it down in any technology team. And I sort of mean probably in this example, a purely technological team that delivers a technological product. So, it can be, for example, I work in fintech, so it can be a financial services based product, but it's powered by technology completely, if that makes sense. So in a traditional tech team, I would say, have 5 traditional roles. And those roles are the first one is probably a PM, a project manager. The second one is a BA, a business analyst. The third one, apologies. The third one is a developer or an engineer. So somebody who's actually going to put that code together. The fourth role is testing. That's kind of what we call quality assurance. And it can be, it can be a multitude of roles. But again, that is sort of like what you would have in a team who kind of works to serve the purpose of testing that entire solution that we've delivered is fit for purpose. And then finally, the fifth role is, I would kind of call them to be like sort of the design function. So essentially architects and user experience, etc. sort of roles. And almost always, these are the 5 roles that are in every tech team, in every tech company. And each of them have to perform a role to get a piece of technology or a product from point A to right out to the market. And if any of them didn't do their role, then that piece of technology wouldn't be what it is and what we see today. Like I mentioned in my last segment, a PM is somebody who's very good with delivery management, etc. And so project management, I'm sure you've heard of project management a lot of times, but that's what they do. And they also, to a certain degree, depending on the nature of a company or projects that they deliver, they need to be that much more technical or not that technical, but it completely depends on what you work on. The good news there is that a project management career can be flexible. You can explore it in any way you want. So like in my personal case, in my own personal story, I started off as a project manager, kind of IT project manager, but still very business oriented. And now I'm feeling that I want to move more into technology and become more technical. And hence I'm starting to explore sort of like cloud and machine learning and AI. And that's the beauty of it. You need project managers everywhere. And if you're somebody who doesn't want to learn coding too much or like code all the time, or just doesn't enjoy coding, project management is a wonderful opportunity and a role for you where you can sort of have the best of both worlds and sort of keep that business management hat on while at the same time talking the technical language and delivering, whatever needs to be delivered, really. The business analyst role is similar to the project manager in the sense of it doesn't have to be very technical that you need to code all the time in your day job. But at the same time, it is somebody a little bit more technical than the project manager who's kind of like the messenger in between the business stakeholders and the technical stakeholders. And they basically speak the language and they can translate it to each other. So they can tell the technical teams what the business wants, and they can tell the business team how the technical teams are going to achieve that goal. So they are literally a messenger in between. And it would work very well for you if you were to think about a career which is slightly technical. You love talking to people. You love finding solutions as well, like actually being able to form a hypothesis and being able to communicate that very well to either side of the spectrum. And like I mentioned in my last segment, there are lots and lots of skills in every other career, in every other sort of industry that can contribute to this sort of analytical thinking side of you, and that you can really be a good business analyst. Moving on to the third role, which was developer and engineer. I think we've spoken a bunch about coders, and but essentially, to be a developer, again, you can have a niche. You don't have to know everything, right? You can pick a certain programming language. You can pick a certain sort of a industry. You can pick a certain kind of product. In fact, you can even select if you want to be back end and front end, each of which really mean different things to be a developer. And I think a developer role can be very flexible as well. It can be as it can be as challenging as you want it to be, and as not challenging, in the sense that depending on your circumstances, you can learn to play a very unique role in any team you join. So like think about it this way, right? You need a developer who probably designed Facebook as a product, everything you see on your screen, and that must have been challenging. And that's obviously not one person, but it must have been challenging, and somebody had to actually put all that code that really works out that logic, and that must have been difficult. But at the same time, on the other side of the same product, they also have developers who do daily maintenance, who kind of make sure that the product stays up and it stays online, and that probably isn't as challenging as the former one. So, you can be a developer at different stages of the life cycle of a product. So again, developer is actually such a flexible role. There is so much going on, in that field. To give you a bit more sort of insight into it, probably in today's day and age, the buzzwords right now are data, DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning. All of these require developers and engineers and even project managers and BAs. But specifically when it comes to development, it is a skill that any developer right now can learn as well, or anybody who's not a developer yet can also learn. And they can essentially come into a new role. You can become a DevOps engineer, or a data scientist, or a machine learning engineer, etc. And all of that kind of contributes quite well to the core set of skills, which are critical thinking, problem solving, and coding, obviously. And they kind of take that, and you can keep building on it, and you can change your careers essentially a bunch of times, kind of like, going from one piece of technology to the next. And then sort of going back to kind of like my traditional 5 roles, the 4th role was testing and tester. And this is somebody who is kind of like the anti of the developer, in the sense of, while developer builds a piece of product and a code, they need to challenge that and find any fallacies in that product or a piece of code, and they need to constantly keep testing and giving feedback, and essentially trying to break that so the developer can fix it before that piece of product goes live. So it's a very important role in the sense of, is our product ready to go into the market? And hence quality assurance is a fantastic career and a role for anybody who likes to, it's kind of like negative testing, in the sense of, you kind of like to find problems in something. So if you find yourself to be rather critical, this is a very good role for you to consider. And then kind of moving down to the 5th and final role of design, like I said, you can be, again, on any spectrum of how technical you are. You can be very technical and be like an architect who literally designs how that technology is going to fit together. You don't necessarily code it, but you understand it. To be honest, you understand it a lot more than a developer. So a lot of times, traditional technology sort of architects tend to be people who've done coding and development and sort of that for a little time in their life, and they've kind of progressed to being architects. They sort of have a bird's eye view of technology, and they kind of design how that technology is going to interact with different pieces of the puzzle essentially. So you can be very technical and you can be an architect, but further down you can sort of be less technical. And every time I say technical, I really just mean coding. So you can be less technical and you can be a user experience designer, etc., a UX analyst who kind of looks at technology but also breaks it down into design elements so that the users can have a seamless experience. So you can design websites and you can design all sorts of anything that you see on your screen, like how Google interacts with you, how Facebook interacts with you. Every time Instagram, for example, releases an update, it has a massive sort of focus on UX because they've seen patterns that people are interacting more with stories, or they have introduced reels, etc. And that comes from a place of UX in the sense of you take data and you take feedback from users and you translate that into an experience that you then have to code. So a UX is a wonderful role where you don't need to be very technical, but at the same time, you need to have some understanding of technology so you can design it for the users. And then probably the lowest technical sort of role in that spectrum can be just graphic designers, etc. That technology requires all the time. So yeah, that's a breakdown of the 5 traditional roles. And I did touch upon data, DevOps, AI, machine learning. And to be very honest with you, all of these new things in technology are still at that process of being explored. What that means is it gives us lots of opportunities and lots of reasons for people to get involved with at this stage. If we really talk about artificial intelligence in particular, you hear a lot about it around you. You kind of say robots are taking over the world, etc. But the truth is, we're at a stage where we don't fully understand it yet, which means we need more people with more diverse skill sets to contribute to it. We need psychologists on the team, so we really understand how to design artificial intelligence that's ethical and that is doing the right thing. For machine learning, you need more people to understand the behavior of machines and humans, so very human-centric design, to then translate that into technology. I mean, honestly, in the day and age that we live, we need people from every walk of life, from every age, every background, every subject ever, to contribute to artificial intelligence and machine learning, because we need our computers to do the right thing. They need to be ethical. And they can't be ethical if they don't serve the needs of everybody around us. And that's the reason you can look around yourself, and there's a massive push for diversity and inclusion. And I tend to advocate a lot for skills diversity, because things like your backgrounds and your race and your identity can often be translated into the kind of occupations and subjects and careers we lead. And we need technology teams that include all of us, So we need to have a mom on the team. We need somebody who comes from a banking background. We need somebody who studied business, in school. Somebody who's learned education in school. We need somebody who studied, PE in school as well. Because everything we design has a different purpose, and to really meet and engage with that purpose, we need people who really understand it, who really understand that, not as a coder, not as somebody who looks at a screen, but somebody as somebody who practices it, somebody who does it, in every day. So to kind of just draw that back into my experience, I think I'm really proud of the subject I studied in school. So I studied journalism, and I think that when I bring my skills from journalism into my role, into an IT consultant, I think I have an edge over somebody who's probably just done computer science. There's I think sometimes like a journalist, sometimes like an IT consultant, and I have that diversity to my thinking, which means I often ask the question why, which is something a journalist does a lot more often than probably other people on my team. I tend to be more creative sometimes. I will try and think how to make anything creative. I'm good at communicating, and that definitely comes from my journalism life. But that really helps me. That really helps me with things like public speaking, making presentations, interacting with people, married with all the tech skills I have learned. And together, I think it makes them, these skills make me a different kind of a technologist. And I think there is such a massive opportunity for all of us to do that. Take transferable skills from whatever life you lead and bring that into technology. So yeah, after talking a bunch about roles in technology, opportunities in technology, the future of technology, I think it's a good time to kind of go into my final segment, which is roots into technology. And this is the most applicable part of, I think, my talk. These are things that you can take away and actually find, roles and jobs that can help you make that transition into technology if you're thinking about it. So roots into technology. Again, I break these down into five categories. Each of the categories being appropriate or more applicable to you depending on your life circumstance, your personal circumstance. And all of these roots are legit roots into technology. Some are more prevalent, some are more traditional. And there are more employers out there who are waking up to non-traditional routes into technology. But it's good to kind of upskill yourself and realize that there is not just one way to get into tech. You can do all these sort of things and put your energy into trying different routes into technology and not just kind of, do the traditional things. So having said that, I break the routes down into 5 categories. Category number 1 being the traditional route, which is like, going to university, going to school and getting a degree qualification. Category number 2 is apprenticeships, etc. They're very common in the UK. So if you're watching from any other part of the world, do look around in your own market and see if you have such opportunities. But apprenticeships are essentially schemes that allow you to earn while you learn. So there is an aspect of learning and getting a professional qualification, but at the same time being on the job and having hands-on experience. And it's a wonderful blend of sort of practical and theoretical experience that you can then kind of really benefit from. So that's category 2. Category 3, these are becoming very popular, but it's essentially a boot camp, or sort of like a coding boot camp, perhaps, where it's like a crash course and an intense course to learn a new skill. It can be anything, it can be non-technical, technical, but boot camps give you that experience of not having to go to university for 3 or 4 years, and you can probably get a lot of practical and niche learning out of 8 to 12 weeks of learning, for example. Then you have the 4th category, which is becoming more popular, especially in the UK. I can't speak for other markets, but again, look around in your market and try to find something similar. Category 4 is training academies. And that's the route I have taken to get into technology. But training academies are basically employers who offer training before you start working for them full time, and that training is often free in the sense of you don't pay for the training, but you have to take a job with them, so you can have like a bond and you work with them. And if there must be like a certain time period. If you leave them in that much time period, then you have to pay back for the training. So it's a beneficial arrangement if you're quite serious about learning and applying those skills in working with that employer. But training academies are a fantastic way to learn a skill and apply it directly, and having that security that you already have a job, which is what makes it different than the boot camps. So training academies. And 5, learning on the job. This is probably the hardest of them all, in the sense that learning on the job kind of puts the control in somebody else's hands, in the sense of they need to offer you that job or offer you that opportunity, and then the learning begins once you have that opportunity. So it's like I said, it's probably the most difficult, where you have to kind of get lucky and find that, and then you kind of start that learning journey. So wonderful. What we do is we'll start breaking these down a little bit. So like I said, I don't think I'll be talking a lot about the traditional degree qualification, but if you are thinking about studying technology at university or studying absolutely anything that contributes to your tech career in university, then try and look for degrees that are as practical as they can be. Try and look for degrees that offer modern technologies. So, kind of like if you were doing computer science a little bit later in your life as well, so you're not an 18-year-old or a 21-year-old who's doing a master's. If you are older, etc., or you're trying to be like a mature student, then in your degree, make sure you're looking for practical hands-on experience, but also experience with modern technologies such as artificial intelligence and cloud and DevOps, etc., which kind of make you more attractive in the market. So definitely look out for these opportunities. Well, the second route, which was apprenticeship, this is definitely one of my favorite routes, because what this does is it allows especially younger people in the society, if you're a student, if you're 14 or 16 and you're considering kind of like getting an experience of an industry and starting out strong, really. So you can join an apprenticeship where lots of apprenticeships offer degrees as well. So you have to work with an employer for 3 to 4 years or however long that apprenticeship is, and you get paid for the work you do for that employer, but at the same time the employer pays for your degree. So you kind of get a free degree at the end of it, all the while you've been working. So I think it's a very good alternative to a traditional approach for a young person, and I feel like if I had that opportunity, I would have definitely taken it, because at 16, you're somebody who is probably thinking about what they want to do, and being in university for 3 years where you really don't get to do it can be a bit like, I don't actually like the subject I'm studying because it's all in books and screens, it's not happening in person. You're not experiencing it hands-on. So apprenticeship is great because you actually get to do what you're learning, so you go to your degree and you're getting your degree module credits, etc. But in your job, you're already working, you're already getting that work ethic, you're already learning those skills, which means that when you kind of like graduate in 3 years time, you're already out in the market, so you'll probably find better job roles, you'll probably be a bit more confident, and you'll probably be a lot surer about your career. So that's why apprenticeships are great, and they're also very financially secure as an option, because your degree is being paid for, so a lot of times you don't graduate with a lot of debt, etc. And they're very popular in tech industries right now. So almost all the leading banks offer tech-based apprenticeship. All the big sort of consultancy firms, all sorts of companies offer apprenticeships. So do look out. The third topic was boot camps. So boot camps, like I said, are quick crash courses, between 6 to 12 weeks. A lot of times they're virtual, which is fantastic. If you are a returner into tech, so say you've taken a gap from your career and you're just coming back, a boot camp is a wonderful way to like refresh your skills, refresh all your memory, and kind of like go back out into the job market. It's great if you're a mother who's looking for a career change, a mother who's returning from a maternity leave. It's great if you are slightly older and you're looking to make a change, and you don't have the time or the privilege of just going back to university. Boot camps can be a quick shortcut for you. Because we're talking about boot camps, I'll go on to the next category, which is training academies. Training academies, like I said, is a bit better than boot camp because there is a guarantee of a job at the end of it. Training academies are essentially an employer who pays for that boot camp for you, with the clause that you have to then work with them. So it's great if you are somebody who knows that you want to work right away, you're really looking for a job, then you kind of, instead of going to a boot camp, you go to a training academy and you come out of it with a job. It's quite suited to younger people because probably, they're making that career change quite early on, or they are, at this stage where they can commit to an employer. So I think it offers a little bit less flexibility than the boot camp, but, job security, and you can make a call depending on your priorities. But both of these options, the boot camp and the training academy, they give you the skills that you need to work in that job. So you can join, let's say, a coding boot camp or a coding boot camp that focuses on, let's say, Python as a language. Then you can really learn that subject A to Z and really apply it, right away. So it's very focused. It has a niche. You don't have to spend a lot of time learning everything else. So you kind of pick a subject, pick an industry, pick whatever that niche is, and then you just go at it. So with me and my training academy, that's how I made it into technology. When I found myself an employer who was basically a training academy, I specialized in project management, business analysis, and testing. It was an 8 weeks course, and it was all geared up to how to be a good business analyst. And the best thing about that was probably when I started, I didn't know that I had all these skills, and I didn't know that I was actually good at technology. And those 8 weeks gave me an opportunity to prove that, not just to the employer, but to myself, saying I'm actually very good at this. Had a massive confidence boost. And as soon as those 8 weeks came to an end, and I started with an employer, I was great. I already had that sort of like a cushion when I started off, when I actually got that learning opportunity. So when I was chucked into the deep end, I had learned how to float, and I had learned how to actually work on the job. And then finally, moving on to the fifth route into technology, which was learning at the job. So finding a job which is probably, after a career change or in technology, it happens all the time. Okay, so it's not impossible. It's not impossible at all, actually. It's actually very possible. It probably takes a bit longer than all these other routes that I've mentioned, but it's a great way. It's very economical. It's a wonderful way to just find that job, find a mentor, find a business mentor who really trusts you and support you. And I mean, we all know this. It's the best way to learn something is like literally on the job when you're getting your hands dirty. So, some tips if you are looking to find a job right away would be probably to kind of really look at your background, your academic background, your CV, and draw out those transferable skills that will make you good at this future job you're trying to get. Like, for example, in my case, I would put things like interviewing skills or communication skills, problem solving skills, research skills, all of which I get from journalism, all of which are great for a career in tech. And that's how I got hired the first time. And, just kind of keep a lot of focus on the fact that you are a learner and you want to learn lots, and that will make you very attractive to any employer. So yeah, that's all the routes to into technology, and there's more. Honestly, technology is changing by the minute, and hence the tech industry has to change with it. And I really think that tech employers are waking up to the fact that if they want to have successful tech companies and tech products, they are going to have to diversify how they find tech talent. So right now is a wonderful time to start a career in tech and find yourself that employer who has similar priorities to you and is willing to give you that opportunity. And regardless of what it is, before you start in tech, the only thing I urge you to kind of pay attention to is, are you somebody who wants to keep learning? Because that's what technology is. It's constantly about reinventing yourself. And as the world reinvents itself, you need to as well. So if you just have that knack to learn, I can guarantee you that you are a great fit in technology and that you should definitely try and get into it. So yeah, I think with that, we come to the end of this talk, and I hope you enjoyed that. And if you want to interact with this subject a little bit more, and if you want to connect with me, please feel free to find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, or Instagram. I am at Rituja Rao. And yeah, I look forward to interacting with you. And if you have any more questions, you can also find me on those channels. But thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the Techno Day conference, and happy International Women's Day again.